Joining us right now, the president of the club, Mr. Ben Gumpert of the Rio Americano Raiders. Good morning, Ben.
Good morning. Always a pleasure. Go Raiders.
Is it always a pleasure, Ben? I mean, sometimes it's like, nah, no, not really.
I mean, it's more an expression.
Yeah.
So you're technically,
Okay.
I don't know if I can back that up.
Right.
I was going to question you if it was always a pleasure to talk to Dave. Like, Dave's great, but every time?
Every time, yeah. We've had some bad not bad interactions, but maybe not as good as the other. Not pleasurable.
Right.
Okay.
I'll steer away from that one. But it's no. Usually, I mean, sometimes though, it's just everything is fit together with Dave, you and me, and it's just been this epic call, epic conversation. So
right.
hoping for one, or not to build up expectations, but hoping for one right now.
Please explain to everybody, because I fumble it around all the time. Please explain to everybody why tomorrow night is such a big deal.
Tomorrow's huge. As you know, this has been a long and winding journey. Certainly some ups and downs on the MLS front. But one thing certainly hasn't changed is that the sort of Sacramento, first and foremost, is absolutely a major league city and an MLS city. And we've had a drive to make this happen. And credit to Mayor Steinberg, to the city council, to Kevin Nagel, right, who brought this along and made this all possible to get to this point. This is certainly well over a year in the making to have a partnership between the city and MLS or MLS ownership to get this done. And we're here. We're at this moment where the city is going to put in infrastructure in the rail yards, which goes far beyond to the benefit of just the stadium, but to the entire rail yards and to the entire downtown. From an MLS standpoint, we've upped our game and putting in nearly $1 billion in private investment in the stadium and the surrounding development. So this is in a way, right, this journey, and I'd like to say it, we're better for it because we've gotten to this place. And so tomorrow night we'll be in front of City Council, as you said, hoping for a yes and hoping for every yes, because we think this is a no-brainer and a win-win for everybody, certainly for the city, for our fans, for MLS, for Republic, and for every corner of Sacramento. So let's go get it done.
Ben Gumpert, president of the Sacramento Republic, joining us right now. And Ben, we've had this conversation many times over the years, but for people listening, let's just put all cards on the table. Soccer is a massively growing sport, not just in the world and in America especially, but also in Sacramento. New fans each and every year, but not every single person listening right now is a soccer fan. There are some people listening right now like, oh, God, soccer, okay, whatever. I want to talk to you at length more about the non-soccer benefits. And I've said it, but I want you to talk about it, the concerts, the events. There's just so much more than just soccer being voted on tomorrow night.
That's true. And listen, first and foremost, as you said, we have plenty of soccer fans. If I'm not mistaken, I heard an Onyewu reference earlier, which completed my U.S. soccer player bingo card. So appreciate that being out there. But absolutely, this is far bigger than soccer. We are building a world-class stadium in the rail yards. This will host certainly Republic games, which are like no other. U.S. men's national team games, U.S. women's national team games, friendly Mexican club team games. There's so much we can do on the soccer front. But as you said, this is also about having football games there, having lacrosse games there, having rugby games there, having concerts. Sacramento is an amazing place year-round. We have 300-plus sunny days a year, I think more than any other city in some years in the United States. Those summer nights, they cool down, the Delta breeze, you know it well. It is a perfect venue for outdoor concerts, and one that we do not have a world-class outdoor concert venue, in this region, really, and certainly not in the city and not in the heart of downtown. So this is an unbelievable opportunity, and rest assured, this is something we want to use every day, whether that's for health club classes, whether that's for yoga, whether that's for farmers markets. We want this space to work for everybody and for it to be, such a centerpiece of everything we do. And that's what we're shooting for.
And Ben, when we talk about that development, listen, who knows? You and I are about the same age. We both have young kids that we're raising in this town. We're both from this town, and I can't sit here and say we'll never get an NFL team or we're never going to get a baseball team. But I feel like with confidence I can say that this is our last chance for a long time, probably in years in my lifetimes, of us getting a major league franchise. And it's not just about MLS. We've talked about MLS All-Star games and the millions of dollars that will bring into the city, but also the development of the rail yards, this eyesore that has been, was it your term or somebody's term, the front porch of the city for so long. Now we finally have this opportunity. Without the city writing a check, by the way, we have an opportunity to develop all that for now and for the future.
Yeah, that's exactly right. First, for the record, you're older than me, so I just want to get that out of the way.
Yes,
I think we hardly overlapped in high school, but that's absolutely right. I'm a massive sports fan. You are, obviously. So many of your listeners are. I remember when the Kings came here in '85, and that's been our one sports team that was relocated. But to have an opportunity for an expansion franchise, this just doesn't happen, right? You live in Boston. The Red Sox have been there for 100 years, and all their teams have been there for decades upon decades. To have the opportunity to bring a major league franchise, a top-level franchise like MLS here, it just doesn't happen. It's almost hard to understand the moment. Again, I use the Red Sox example. There's things that they do. There's traditions that they started 100 years ago or 50 years ago that are still being done today. That's happening. That's our opportunity now. Even as fans, right? A chant that might happen will go on for decades, and our kids will pass it on to their kids. Like it's crazy to sort of wrap your mind around this, but this is a massive opportunity for the city, one that we don't want to have missed, because like you said, if this goes, who knows when the next opportunity there is, if ever. So I think that's been captured by our business community, by the city council, really by everybody that sort of understands the gravity of the moment and why tomorrow is so important and why this mission is so important to get this done and get this done quickly.
Ben Gumpert joining us. I want to talk about some of the details of the proposed deal for tomorrow night that you know far better than I. But first off, listen, I'm biased, and I'm pretty sure you're biased too. But I have a great affection for Kevin Nagel, the lead investor, now with Ron Burkle and Matt Alvarez. And I know it's been a long road since he took control of the team from Warren, and you guys created your own kind of management team and ownership team. I saw him for a bit on Friday, but you spent a lot more time with him lately. I would have to imagine he is, I don't know what the right word is, relieved, over the moon, hopeful, all three. But I can't think of anyone, and all due respect, Mr. Gumpert, but I can't think of anyone that has put more time, effort, money, and soul into this thing, and that makes me happy too.
It's crazy. It's crazy, and he'll never get the credit that he's due. Not that that's why he went into this. Right. I think he understands as well as anyone that that's just part of the game. I remember meeting Kevin when I worked for the NBA in New York, but coming out to Sacramento during the Kings fight, right? And he was across that big conference table at Golden One Credit Union, where we had that epic meeting where the corporate community said, hey, we're going to step up and put in $10 million. Kevin was, I think, the first one to speak,
yep.
If not the first one of the first. And I met with him after, and he's like, here's a check. We got to make this happen. And ever since then, we've grown our relationship. But that day sort of speaks to who he is and what he does, and that has carried through, especially through MLS. And so over the past few years, and especially over the last year and a half, with us being close but not quite there, and then restructuring and figuring out how do we get this done, how do we bring in a new investor from outside that could really complete this bid, and again, to find someone like Ron Burkle and Matt Alvarez, I don't think we could have found somebody better for this city and for this team. And Kevin was a big part of that, to work with the mayor and the city council, the business community, Barry Broom, you name it. Yep. Kevin is the one putting all that together, and for him to be here, yes, I think less relieved. It's more just he feels like this is, this is all for the right, all for the right purpose, right? And there's a justification there, and that his inkling that, hey, Sacramento can be a Major League Soccer city, which at a point was just a little bit of a dream, now is here. And, again, huge credit to him. And I'm just glad that I get to work with the likes of him and many other great leaders here that make things happen.
Ben Gumpert joining us. It's funny you say that. I didn't know that story about you guys' first meeting. I was with two other guys, and we were bearded and smelly in New York City, halfway through the leg of our RV trip, of which we had raised money here, not just from a couple of business contacts we had who had no idea what the hell we were doing at that point, but also the amazing Kings fans that started a GoFundMe to help the process. Anyways, it obviously was a lot more expensive than we thought it would be. We get out to New York in time for the big St. Regis meeting and all that, and deliver the signed banner to the mayor. And that night we were at, I don't remember what the tavern was, but it was a big tavern that gathered a bunch of Kings fans and the prospective Kings owners. And I knew Phil Oates. You know Phil very well at the time. He was our very first sponsor. And he introduced me to Kevin, said, hey, this is Kevin, blah, blah, blah. And Phil turns, it was kind of embarrassing because Phil turns to Kevin and says, yeah, hey, Dave was telling me earlier, they're going to make it about as far back west as Cleveland. They're trying to raise money to get that RV back home. Turns out gas was a little more expensive than I thought. And Kevin turned to Phil in front of me and says, well, how much does he need? And Phil said, I don't know. He turns to me and says, how much do you need? And I told him the amount, which wasn't a crazy amount, but was still more than $100. And I would have just been happy had Kevin made any sort of donation. Kevin reaches into his pocket, pulls out his checkbook, and writes us a check, not for the amount to get back home, but he added, I hope I get this right, I think he added $100 beyond what we needed to get back home, and said, at some point, you guys need to, at some point, please stay at a hotel that has laundry and do some laundry on us. And that's the first time I met the guy. And you're absolutely right. Since then, whether it was stepping up for the Kings or stepping up in this situation, I want this for the city. I want this for my kids. And Ben, I know I'm droning on here, but we're just kind of goofing. I want this so bad for people like him, for people like you, for these fans, because I know what it means, and I know the type of awesome people that are involved.
Yeah, just think, if not for Kevin, you could be living out of an RV in Cleveland right now.
Right. It's his fault.
It is his fault, yeah. So I have something to take up with him after this call. I don't know what to say, right? I mean, growing up here in Sacramento, as you did, being able to work on the Kings and certainly see that, and through the likes of Kevin Nagel and Phil Oates and Mark Friedman, who have just, are all mentors to me. And then to, for them to say, hey, we got the Kings down, Doko, certainly with the ownership group at the Kings, who's done a great job, and saying, okay, let's go bigger, right? We're gonna Sacramento, and I've said this now, is Sacramento doesn't need to take a back seat to any other city, and that's because of the guys we're talking about and the leadership we're talking about that says, okay, we got our team, we got Doko, we should have another major league franchise. It should be in surrounding development. We should grow our downtown even further. We should look for new corporate headquarters. We should work with the community. We should build more soccer fields, you name it. The list goes on and on and on. But we need those. We need those people that are driving change. And I just have written, selfishly, this is the coolest thing in the world for me to work on with my hometown team, our hometown city, trying to create something, under the direction of these guys. It's unbelievable.
Let's see here. A lot of text right now, Ben. You can't see my text line, but a lot of text right now. Just a lot of people there's two types of texts I'm getting right now, Ben, and you'll understand them. The majority are pumped up, ready to go. Let's do this tomorrow night. Let's get this vote. MLS coming. We're super confident. And then you have that percentage that are super excited, are super stoked, and also super nervous and super superstitious. And I would imagine, I know I am, I would imagine you're kind of the same way. We're all a little bit of both. Very excited, very confident, but also knocking on wood, maybe throwing some salt over the shoulder too.
Every on the many rabbit's feet in my pocket I have as many as I can fit. In all seriousness, I get it. I get both sides, and it's all one side, right? We all want the same thing for Sacramento. And one thing's for sure, right? We saw this with the Kings. We've seen this with MLS. Sacramento has always had to work every bit of hard or double as hard to earn, what we should earn what we deserve. And in a way, I love that, right? Like, this is the Sacramento story, right? Fight, keep fighting for what you deserve, and don't stop until you get it. That's what we're doing with MLS. Certainly it's not done by any means. Tomorrow's not done, so we need to make sure that we're going through everything possible and working again with the city council over the next day, working with many community leadership to make sure that this is a deal that works for everybody. We are confident that it does, and this is a win-win-win-win no-brainer. But we're not going to stop until we move to tomorrow and get what we need collectively for our bid as Sacramento. And then it doesn't stop there. And we're continuing to stay in touch with the commissioner's office and Major League Soccer to get this done. I guess the one thing I can say or two things is, one, we're very confident with where we stand based on everything we said. And two, we are not going to rest or stop or even take a breath until we get this done. Because again, this is a city, this is a region, and certainly a fan base that deserves it more than anything.
That is Stanford University via Rio Americano's Ben Gumpert, president of the Sacramento Republic Football Club. I promise you this: if that day comes and we are a Major League Soccer team, I'll tell you this: you and I will be definitely shaking hands and hugging and kissing a lot of people. But you and I, at some point, are going to sneak off, and we are just going to get silly on root beers. I mean, I'm talking sugar high like you've never seen, Ben.
Can't wait.
Okay.
Can't wait.
All right. It's a date. Ben Gumpert of the Sac Republic. Big vote tomorrow. We will have Mayor Darrell Steinberg on tomorrow at 8:05. Kevin Nagel on Wednesday at 8:05 as we cover what we hope is a momentous week for the city of Sacramento. Ben, you're the best. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you. See you tomorrow night.
Yes,
Go
sir.
Republic.
You're listening to The Drive.